Alhamdulillah. Say, man, let me say this. If all y'all was blind to the fact or naive to what's going on out here in this world, if it was me and 10 of my friends, there'll be blood all over the Capitol building right now. But y'all wonder why we out here marching. Y'all wonder why we out here taking care of each other. Y'all wonder why we standing together and pushing everybody that ain't with us away. Y'all see what's going on, but y'all want to be naive. Y'all don't care about black people. The system never cared about black people. The people that wrote the Constitution had slaves. So that's why all this is like this. So y'all continue to be naive. But as black people, keep your eyes open and pay attention. This is more of a reason why we got to come together and stand together. They would have killed us a long time ago, but they letting them do what they want. Stay tuned.
If this doesn't show you how racist and prejudiced plays into the policing system, I don't know what does. First thing people want to say, oh, the Black Lives Matter protesters looted and burned down businesses and buildings, and some of them did. You're right. But they were met with extreme force. Tear gas, bullets, ass beat. On the flip side, these white terrorists are doing the same thing at the Capitol. Breaking windows, storming it with guns, having all the Congress members run and hide. Yet, where's the tear gas and pepper spray and people getting their ass beat? Where's all that at? By the police. Now, do I want to see anyone hurt or killed? No. But I want to see force used when force is needed. They felt force was needed with the Black Lives Matter protests, and they exuded their force every single day. Now these people are storming the Capitol of the United States because of this punk-ass president. And where's that force at? Where's that same force and energy at?
Awful lot to get to regarding the madness that took place in the nation's capital yesterday afternoon. Obviously, there's a lot of reaction throughout the sports world, particularly the NBA. Take a look.
It's baffling to see the reaction that the law enforcement had, and whoever else was involved from a authoritarian standpoint. To see the National Guard standing on those same steps when there was a peaceful protest, and now to see a terrorist attack and no National Guard, it just goes to show you where this country is, where this country has been, and probably where it's going to stay.
You just see the privilege. You see the privilege in America, and it's sad to see. Because if any of us was out there, I think it would have been tear gas, mace, probably gunshots,
Thousands of white people can storm the Capitol and not face any sort of obstruction from police. But heaven forbid a 12-year-old black boy carry a toy gun in a park, or a 15-year-old black boy walk home from a store with a bag of Skittles, or a young black male run through the neighborhood on a jog. Heaven forbid any of those things happen.
Welcome to First Take. You usually see the wonderful Molly Karen Rose sitting in this chair. She is off for today. As a result, I'm filling in as the novice host that I am, but on this particular day, it really doesn't matter. I'm here alongside my buddy Max Kellerman, my partner here at First Take. And obviously, Max, we saw what transpired in the nation's capital yesterday. I have a lot to say about it. We're going to have Kendrick Perkins on in just a little while to react to what the NBA players had to say as well. But witnessing what you witnessed take place in the nation's capital yesterday, when those protesters stormed the nation's capital, the state capital, endangering the lives of so many people. Four people was killed, One person was shot. The other three were fatally wounded via medical emergencies and what have you. Max Kellerman, your reaction to what you saw yesterday, not just in terms of what happened, but in regards to what the NBA community had to say in their reaction to what happened.
Sure. Well, first I would say I wouldn't call them protesters. I call them insurrectionists, which is what they were. And one was flying a Confederate flag, a seditious and treasonous flag of slavery inside the Capitol building. That's what happened. And of course, the world, not just in this country, the world is shocked and outraged. Let me say this. The reaction you heard from many in the NBA, many around the sports world, centers on the reaction of law enforcement. And if we go back to Colin Kaepernick's original protest, was this 4 years ago now? You go back to that, what was it specifically about? Police interactions, law enforcement interactions with communities of color, and more broadly about systemic racism and social injustice. And what we hear time and again now, the commentary, especially from athletes, and we just heard a few of them, including coaches, white and black. What you heard is, imagine if those people would have been black. If it's African Americans largely who tried to storm the state capitol building violently, and would they have ever breached security? Highly unlikely. And I brought this point up, Stephen A., months and months ago, because the same thing happened at state capitals. Armed insurrectionists stormed the state capitol building and were either let in or overwhelmed law enforcement and largely got away with it. And I brought it up then. What was Kaepernick talking about? How would that have gone down were they African American? It would have gone down very differently. And if you take a step back and look at what's going on, of course, it's extremely disturbing to see a Confederate flag being waved around in the state capitol building. On the other hand, that is a symbolic victory for the person who pulled that off, because the reality is you can't do that. The reality is there are repercussions. The reality is that this moment was coming, of reckoning was coming in American history. I remember as a kid, Stephen, I was 8 years old at PS 41, 1981. We used to get something called the Weekly Reader, and we would learn about how the climate's going to change and also the browning of America. At what point would white people cease to be the majority in America and would be only the plurality, meaning they're still the largest group, but not over 50% of the population. And in terms of birth rates, babies being born, that was right about now, which is happening right about now. And the next 30, 35 years, white people will cease to be a majority, period, as part of the population. What was going to happen to the strain of white supremacy in this country when that occurred? What we're seeing now, a desperate attempt to hold on or reclaim some kind of past power. At our worst, this country has always been about white supremacy, at our worst. And at our best, it's been a multiracial coalition of those of goodwill. And that's been the struggle throughout our history. And recent events have seen the ascension, once again, of the multiracial coalition of those of goodwill. And what we've seen is that strain of white supremacy mixed, by the way, and it's a toxic mixture of that on the one hand and low and people susceptible to low quality information. So they're susceptible to lies from their leaders. We saw that toxic mix rear its ugly head in the face of a triumph by the multiracial coalition of those of goodwill.
Well, obviously, I have a lot to say, but sitting in this chair today and subbing for Molly Kieran Rose, I'm going to go to Kendrick Perkins first. I want to bring him in on this conversation because obviously the NBA community reacted to it. He's a former NBA player, former NBA champion, obviously, and now a contributor right here, proudly so, on ESPN. Kendrick, you saw what you saw in the nation's capital. You saw the NBA community react to 4 people being killed, 3 via medical emergency, 1 was shot and killed, 50 people plus were arrested, and obviously they're expecting more to come. You heard the reaction from the NBA community in light of what transpired. What was your reaction?
Well, first of all, I always want to applaud the NBA brotherhood for standing on the front line and doing whatever they can to use their platform to bring awareness to what's going on. Honestly, personally, I don't see how they played last night. My mind was in a whirlwind, just watching the news and seeing what was going on and me witnessing what was going on in Capitol Hill. And the truth of the matter is this, Stephen A. and Max, is that we live in two different Americas. It's two Americas. It's Black America and it's white America. And when you look at what happened and what transpired yesterday at Capitol Hill, them going in there, rioting, people being murdered and killed, and things were getting torn down, and people were taking selfies while they was doing it with the police officers. It goes back to what I said, when we first addressed this situation with George Floyd, a couple of months ago, is that we don't trust the system. And how can you trust the system after watching what we witnessed yesterday? I don't trust nobody. I don't trust security. I don't trust police officers. I don't trust nobody as an African American. And it goes to show me another thing, is that our safety was already on the line. It don't matter who you are in the world today. If they could get to Capitol Hill, how can you feel safe in your own home? How can you feel safe anywhere? How can you feel safe in the NBA arena? You can't. It was a planned attack. And so what that goes to show me is that this is just the beginning, because I don't know what else is coming up. And for this to happen with the security that the Capitol have, you just don't know what's going to come up in the near future. You don't know what's going on through these evil souls that are doing these crazy things in our world today, especially in the United States. Our safety is on the line. We should not take nothing for granted. We have to make sure that we watch ourselves, protect our family, be cautious of where we go, who we're around. And it went a step further, just witnessing what we saw yesterday, and the thing for words, to be honest with you, because I don't know what to do. I'm up all night pacing the house, going to check on my kids. I mean, Stephen A. and Max, to be honest, I don't know what to do. Hey, can't trust nobody. Nobody.
I got it. I appreciate your comments from both of you. I got a lot to say about this because I want to brace everybody, because it's not really sports related to me. And let me be very, very clear. My eyes are on one individual, and that is the man that occupies the White House. His name is President Donald Trump. He was responsible for this. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And I'm not talking politics just for the world out there to recognize. I'm not talking about Republicans. I'm not talking about conservative policies. I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm talking about him. I watched his entire speech yesterday. I watched a president speak for approximately an hour. And you can call it dog whistling, or you could say it's directly. He sent them to the nation's capital. He sent them over to the state capitol. He talked about, we're strong, we're not weak. Only the weak would stand for this. You can't let this happen. We're going to march over there, before he got in his motorcade and went back to the White House. He did that. He's